I'll talk a little bit about our story. It's, a lot of this stuff we could be affected by, or we could just turn off the TV and not worry about that and focus on what we need to do. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and modest family, single child, great parents, and I think they raised me right. Gave me good morals and good ethics. And shortly after high school, I think I took a year and a half of some college courses. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And soon after that, I met my wife in 2001. And if you don't mind, I'm actually going to grab this so I actually don't screw something up here.
So much happened. We actually had to write out a timeline. Like, it's just the last few years have been so crazy. Like, when did this happen? When did this happen?
Right. So in 1994, my wife, who's here tonight, her name's Stacy, and we got married in 1994. I was 21, and she was 24, I think, at the time.
So that would make you 30? No, 40. Yeah, not 50.
41. 41. So in 1995, we were married for a few years, or a couple years. So I got started into a property management. It was by mistake. It was just something that, again, I didn't have any really goals in my life. It was like, okay, here's a job, let me try it out. Well, later on down the road, it was a real big benefit for me. However, it was something where it was kind of easy. So I'd wake up, I'd walk outside, I'm at work. So I'm the guy that you would call at 3 o'clock in the morning to come fix your toilet when it broke. And for a while, I actually liked the job. It was a pretty decent job. In 1996, we had our first child, Avery. He's in the back of the room doing all the sound. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my family later because Mark Kohler and them told me to hire my kids for tax benefit. So we'll talk about that later. So there he is. He's working. He's getting paid tonight. In 1998, it was a pretty big year. We actually bought our first house. And I knew nothing about real estate. I just knew that the American dream was supposed to be get married, have kids, have a good job, work 40 hours a week, work 40 years of your life to get a $40 watch at the end of it. And then this was a special house to me. This is a house I grew up in. And this is my grandmother's house. So I spent probably half of my childhood over at my grandmother's house. It was cool. It was up in Portland, Oregon. And it was a big deal for us, because a new family starting out. Well, I actually purchased the house with what was called a negative amortization loan. And if anybody knows what that means, it's a normal PITI loan is you make a payment, some goes to principal, some goes to interest. Well, in this one, only a little bit went to interest. So the rest of the interest every month would be tacked onto my principal. So when my mortgage adjusted to a regular mortgage, it went from $423 a month, and I think it went up to $1,400 and something a month. Well, during that time, that was 1999 when my mortgage rate adjusted, and it just so happened to be about 3 months after my wife, we found out my wife was really sick. We were pregnant with our third child, and she ended up, we find out after we had our baby, Celeste, our last one, that she ended up with fibromyalgia. So she was really sick, she was in bed, she couldn't move. During that time, I was working 3 jobs, but that really wasn't conducive to our lifestyle because how can I take care of a family while not being there? It didn't make a lot of sense. So I kind of threw my hands up and said, we got to start all over. We've got to do different. I can't do all of this. So we ended up, what we thought we would do was short sale a house. And back then, nobody knew what a short sale was, but somebody thought of this brilliant idea. Well, it turned out it wasn't a short sale. Everybody got paid in full. And I actually walked out of there with $800 in my pocket. So I bought the house for $126. I sold it for $163. After the bank took all of the money, after the realtor got paid as well, I walked out with $800. So we rented a U-Haul, and we filled it up with gas, and we drove down to California. Me and my 3 kids and my disabled wife. So we stayed at my father-in-law's house, my mother and father-in-law's house. Great people, wonderful people. Gave me a chance to get started again. And back into property management I go. And actually before we left, working those 3 jobs, I had started my own handyman business as well. So starting the entrepreneurship, starting the I want to work for myself kind of thing, I really don't like working for other people, that was starting to get into my head. I just got tired of working for somebody else.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here real quick. That some people are wondering why we're telling our stories is we've had a lot of people ask us, we've showed up here. We've been working this club. People are hearing about all of our success stories, but where'd you come from? How'd you get here? And so we want to share this with you, because Daryl and I, we come from very different backgrounds, but we'll see that we ended up converging together on a parallel path, and we're just hoping that we can identify a lot of people here. I mean, there's a lot of seasoned investors here, a lot of seasoned entrepreneurs, a lot of new folks. So there's a reason for it. I mean, it's we all come from this similar backgrounds and have similar struggles. So I just want to jump in and say that.
Yeah, thank you.
This is so you could see we came from the same stuff you did.
Yeah, and a lot of people with success, you don't hear about the struggles, you don't hear about the hard times that they have, and I just want to be able to share that, life kicks us in the butt, but what we do is we get up and we keep moving, and we don't let those obstacles and those hurdles stop us from going, When I caught the real estate bug, when I caught this little dream, I let nothing stand in my way, and you'll hear about that in a second, because, let me hurry up here. We moved to California, ended up back in property management, which is kind of nice because over in Rancho Penasquitos, it was a place where I could work, and they gave me a free apartment. So I got a little bit of money and a free apartment. Great, I get to move out of my father-in-law's house and take care of my family again. 30-something years
More
old, trying to get
importantly,
the house.
out of your mother-in-law's house.
Yeah. So, well, it doesn't end there. We end up back at my father-in-law's house, and I'll tell you that in a minute. So in 2001, that's when we moved to California and got a job, worked for about 4 years there. And in 2006, I saw a little sign on the road. It was a yellow one. Pete Sanchez can probably relate to this. I know you can, because you called off the same sign. It said, "Real estate investor seeks apprentice." Wow, after reading Robert Kiyosaki's book and seeing this little sign on the side of the road, I'm like, well, it's fate. This is how it has to be. So I called the number. Turns out it was kind of a multi-level marketing education program for real estate. It was kind of two-sided. One was recruiting, and then one was actually education. And I'll tell you what, and you can vouch for this, it was some of the best education we ever got. It was amazing. And that's what launched us.
Surprisingly, considering how many guru programs are out there, it was a good one.
It was great. And it actually gave me incentive to move forward, because it wasn't just the education, it was the people in the room that I was with. It was the people on stage. It was people just like you that we were able to network with. And personal development was a huge part of this as well. I had no idea what personal development was before this. Now I realize that it was something that was absolutely necessary for me to move on and become successful. So 2006, I jumped right in, quit my job. I thought, I'm going to make $1 million this year. Yeah, that didn't happen. I partnered up with one person. We tried to do the sales side of it. That didn't work. And then partnered up with a family member, and we had a little bit of success. We did some flips down in Mississippi. Things were going well. And about that time, I started seeing this big dollar signs over here, chasing the easy money through bulk REOs. So I kind of left that business partner and chase this bulk REO white rabbit, I guess is what you call it. And that's about the time that you and I met.
Really hooked up, yeah. And so so I'm going to jump over to my story, because this is where Daryl and I started merging together, and I'll throw it back over to you a little bit. So my background was the go get a job, get married, have kids, get successful that way, but get the education. So I come from the high education side, get that high-powered job, right? And that's what you're supposed to do. That's the track I was on. So I think it was also I just never wanted to leave school, because I didn't know what the heck I was going to do in the real world. So I went to UC Santa Barbara for undergrad, and I started out as an engineering major there. Electrical engineering, and after a couple of years of that and partying too much and being on the probation a couple of times, I got my act together and got off probation. I thought, well, maybe I don't want to be an electrical engineer, so I go into the dean's office and said, well, I think I want to do mechanical engineering. And I just got this slap in the face from the head of the department. Said, well, if you're not sure, maybe you should just get out of the department altogether, because there's this huge waiting list of people that would love to take your spot. And I'm like, well, thanks a lot for the help, trying to get some counseling. So I went out, I walked out all mad, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, well, maybe they're right. So I just went undeclared for a while, spent a whole year kind of playing around in college, trying different classes, and then I ended up at a summer school course taught by a graduate student in genetics, and I was just blown away in antibody technology, which back then, I mean, now they teach it probably in 5th grade, but back then it was cutting edge, and I was like, wow, we can really actually do this. This is amazing. So I've got to do this. So I focused on that. So I ended up getting a bachelor's in biochemistry at UC Santa Barbara, and it turned out, well, you can't really do anything with a bachelor's. You have to go all the way to PhD. Otherwise, you hit a glass ceiling really quick and you just end up as a lab tech. So I said, I guess I'm getting a PhD. So I ended up at UCLA and got into their PhD program. And it is also kind of my family's background. So they're all education, get your big job. So they're doctors, they're lawyers, a Nobel Prize winner, authors. So it's also a lot of pressure. So that I was kind of used to that track, but they all kind of had jobs, and so I ended up getting my PhD at UCLA. I met Tama, who was going to become my wife. Actually, no, we left UCLA. I came to San Diego to do my postdoctorate at the Burnham Institute. So that was 1998 I graduated. I postdoced at UCLA, then postdoced at the Burnham Institute here in San Diego, and then and got married in 1999. And in 2000, Tama moved from Los Angeles here. And so I went into the biotech industry. And that's where, I realized, like a lot of other folks here, that you've got W-2 jobs. It turned into a high-paying job. I started out with a postdoc. I was making $17,000 a year, and then I got into a $40,000 a year job. So not that big of a deal with a PhD. But ultimately, I worked my way up to where I was making six-figure income, but I was still trapped. And what happened while I was working in industry was I was only 2 years at the first company. In 2000, biotech tanked. So this is a time when everybody else was doing great. The housing market was just starting to come up, and that was going to scream up in sort of the early mid-2000s. Everybody was feeling good. Everybody was borrowing. Credit was easy, and I was struggling. I went through 3 companies and 5 jobs. How does that happen? The math doesn't, it's because it was one company laid us all off and hired us back and laid us all off and hired us back kind of thing. So I was getting that yo-yo effect. So Axiom Biotechnology is my first place I worked. They went under. I walked in there. I was going to move out, and I said I need my last paycheck. And HR said, oh, you're getting the last paycheck. And I said, well, I know, I need my last paycheck. They said, no, you're getting the last paycheck. And there were all these people behind. I just happened to be first in line. And so they shut down. Ended up at what I thought was going to be my next 10-year career with Sonomics. And after 11 months and taking all the hard work I did for them, they actually did go public. They did really well. But in doing that, all the investors fired upper management that got them to where they were, which was a smart move on their part, and they hired a new management to take them public that knew how to do that better, because the other guys were startup people. And so they came in and they streamlined that company, and I was part of that streamlining process. And they cut me and my whole team after being there for 11 months, because on month 12, all of our stock options kicked in. And to this day, I'm still signing for their legal department patents. I have 26 patents in 21 countries with that company, and I don't get a dime. But I sign them every year, because I'm legally bound, and what the hell. So then I ended up at my third company. Somewhere in there, we bought a condo, my wife and I. Okay, so we moved into our first home. Okay, and then I ended up at the third company. We moved from the condo to a house. We kept the condo and rented it out. So now I've become a real estate investor. Okay, and I actually still own this condo to this day. It was the one smart thing I did without knowing anything back then. My next move in real estate was the dumbest thing I ever did. And I got creamed, and I'm still paying for that, which is why we do things smarter now. Okay, so we moved to the house. had the first of two girls. She's now 8. All right, and we moved into this house. Let's see, did I get fired yet? Let me look at the timeline here yet. So, yeah, he's like, did I buy this? Yeah, well, I bought a 7-plex. I'm gonna see, did I get fired first and buy it, or I bought it and then got fired and got hired back? So, yeah, I've gone through unemployment for a while. Okay, yeah, we got into, we bought the house 2004. Okay, yeah, then we bought this. So I'm like, well, this rental thing is really cool. Let's get another house. So it was getting really hard to find a house. And it's like, well, then, like everybody, let's look out in Texas and Ohio and all these places, and everybody's selling stuff over the internet, and this is the way to do it. And then I found this thing that actually almost cash flows, like, it appeared to be a 6 to 7% cap rate in San Diego, which is unheard of. It was in Spring Valley. It was sitting right on the freeway, and it was in a war zone, but it was surrounded by, like, nice stuff. I'm like, ooh, well, this will eventually squeeze out the war zone, unless things happen like they did in 2006, 2007. So I was like, oh, well, and I bought it for almost $1 million. We got it for like $865, but really all in, we were into it for like $950, right, after all fees and everything. Pay off TAMA student loans for that. That's cool. All right, so just stupid thinking. Okay, so we pick this thing up, and guess what happens right after I pick up the 7-plex? Crash. Yeah, 2 things. So I picked that up in 2005. I refied it. I had to move quick, so I got it with hard money. I went to go refi it in 2006, and the market crashed. So I couldn't get the good loan on it. I got stuck with this hard loan. Eventually, I did have somebody come in that took out the hard money guy, but it was a horrible loan. And I had to come in with a lot more money. I had to come in with a couple of other private investors and come heavier down on it. So now I'm sharing it. And then I got fired again. Holy crap. Okay. And then we had our second child. So I'm sitting on the seat. So I've got this big albatross.
Expenses.
Yeah, expenses. Okay, and it's funny. So the company fires us all, and then 3 months later they call us up. Because what they do is, upper management doesn't fire themselves because, even though they earn the most and we thought they did the least, that's what we complained about. And then they keep all the people that cost the least, right? And they fire all the middle management, which is where I was. But they call us and said, well, nothing's getting done. Because there was nobody to translate, all the craziness from up here into actual work and give it to the guys down here. And also to shield the guys down here from the nuts up top. I mean, that's really what middle management does, right? Okay, so they hired us back. And then in there, driving around, yeah, I saw the yellow, I was thinking, I got to do something different here. So I saw the same yellow sign, real estate investor seeks apprentice. I wrote that number down. I saved it in my drawer forever. And then it was, they let us all go again. And that's when I went into this thing. And I went 9 months unemployed. And I got to the point where I didn't even want to get a job anymore, because I forget it. And as I'm learning the real estate end of this thing, one thing I learned is I didn't want to just jump in and do something stupid. So I put the real estate stuff on hold and I got into the sales. And I actually started doing pretty good on the sales eventually. Not during the 9 months I was unemployed, and my wife started begging me to get a job. So I did go back to that old company, and I begged them to hire me back, and they actually did, because I was pretty productive while I was there. And as soon as they hired me, I started making money in this other thing. And I actually, that year that they hired me back, just on the sales side, now I'm making about $100,000 a year in this. I made like $50,000 in sales. I'm like, man, this is great. But remember, I had this alligator of a 7-plex. That thing was so bad that entire 50 grand went right into that building.
It ate it.
It ate it, and it did that for 5 years. And it ate about that much every year.
So with that said, we actually found each other through that same network. Similar situation, similar room as this, and we ended up partnering up later on down the road in 2009. But in between there, similar struggles. I jumped into the real estate. It wasn't working well for me. I was unable to pay my rent. Like I said, I'd quit my job, and I'd actually borrowed, that's what it was. What kept me alive for
Creative
a year
financing.
was creative financing. I went out and took one class at a college and took out $30,000 student loan, and I lived on that $30,000 for a year. That didn't last long, and actually ended up going homeless. I don't know, it's like being on crack or something. I have no idea what that feels like, but I know that when I was in the situation, nothing was going to stop me because I had to succeed. I had to not just show everybody else that I could do it, but prove to myself that I could also do it. So we met, we started to partner up. One of our goals is to put 20 properties in the pipeline in the first 30 days of business.
Yeah, it's like we actually, there's a switch that flipped in us. So we met, I mean, we're different, we have these very different sort of backgrounds we come from, but
I have a PhD as well.
Yeah.
A public high school diploma.
Right.
So.
But where Daryl and I are great partners, I think, is one, our passion's in the same place. We both have strong drives to succeed in what we're doing, which happens, and we both want to do pretty much the same thing. That helps. But really, our basic values overlap a lot. I mean, just in personal, with family, all of that, and that's really important, you know, in seeking out any partner, you know, whether it's in a marriage or a business or whatever. So we're great that way. But we tried a lot of stuff together. We decided to partner up. We tried a lot of stuff together. It didn't work, and all the wholesaling. We found a third partner that was from a family that had backed a good portion of downtown San Diego and all the high-rise condos that went up there. So we thought we really hit a gold mine in this guy, but it turned out he was the black sheep, and he was using us more than we were using him. We had to get rid of him quick. And we're telling you this because these are all the false starts. All that, you know, we think we're going to get there, and then you crash and burn. You think you can get there, and you crash and burn. All this stuff happens because people are going, and they come to us, how long does it take? When does this happen? You just got to keep at it. You've got to believe in yourself. And there are two other students that went through the same education process we did, the same sort of real estate college, that had started about a year ahead of us, and they were in Orange County. And they were, right, yeah, Deborah and Misha, and they came down to speak and talk about what they were doing. And the idea of, and this is how we started really getting successful, is flipping short sales. We do a lot more now, but this is how we got started. And we avoided it. We knew we knew how to do it, and we knew we were shown the smart way to do it by smart guys, but they're hard, and they take a long time, which is, you know, the huge.
And I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I'm going homeless here. I don't have time for this. So I want to get paid tomorrow.
We kept going for that quick money, the fast, easy stuff, which didn't work, right? You know, so we kept going for the shiny object syndrome, that I need it now, and so Deb and Misha came down, and they were doing this, and they were having huge success. They were in a room just like this, and they were speaking, and we knew them, and we knew everything they did, minus like 2 questions that we'd get the answer to by tomorrow. And we looked at each other, and that's when something just went ka-chunk.
I think we ended up at Denny's till 3 in the morning doing a business plan.
We went back.
This is what we're going to
do.
do.
We wrote up a business plan together that night in Denny's, until like 3 in the morning. And it really is, I mean, there's a lot of switches that will flip in you, and you think that you've come to the other side and now you're motivated, but when the one that really flips and there's no going back,
you'll know.
And you're going to do it no matter what, you know, unless it kills you, you'll know it when that, and that's what hit us. And so that's when we're going to go put 20 properties under contract.
Right.
In a month.
So we were really close to closing before I went, we're going to call it homeless. You know, here I'm dragging my wife, my 3 kids, back over to my father-in-law's house, my mother-in-law's house. This is right over in Poway. It's not too far away. But, you know, what really, I think, motivated me the most was, and I love my mother-in-law to death. No joke, though. She would tell me, give up your dream and go get a real job. And I would hear this every single day. So I would pack my backpack up with a bunch of resumes. I'd dress as nice as I could with the money that I had. And I'd walk out the door and I'd go straight to my office, which was...
it was Jack in the Box.
Well, it was Jack in the Box. Yeah, because they had free Wi-Fi. So I'd go to Jack in the Box, and I would, I'd keep working on my real estate.
That's how I got online.
I had, one deal that we were getting ready to close, and actually, sure enough, I think it was about 4 weeks after we moved in, We ended up closing our first short sale.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so much that happened in this. We're not going to give you guys everything. We don't have time. But he even, just to get your mother-in-law off your back, he had some money saved up that he gave me, and then and then I gave it back to him through a paycheck. I cut him a paycheck that he can show, just to
show that I had a job.
Just stop talking to me,
and
right?
Let me go. Let me finish this. So,
right.
With that said, I finally walked up with a it was a $63,000 check. I think we netted a little bit, 50, but it was a $63,000 check.
Right, and the way I almost got fired so many times because he had the time, and so he was, and I was taking a little bit of money from my job, and I was putting that into marketing, trying to get the leads and everything.
See, you were clocking 40 hours a week, but you'd actually only work like 20 hours a week.
It's the other way. I was clocking about 80 hours a week and working like 60. I was insane. I mean, it's just.
However, you were still praised for like the best.
Oh, I got Employee of the Year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So. So here we are. It's I'm taking 3-hour lunches because we're
conference
going
calls, networking,
meeting sellers. I know the first one. I'm driving. I'm the one that has to go. He can't do it for some reason. I'm like, fine, I'll take lunch off, and I'm driving in the car, and he's coaching me on the phone, and I've got like books and stuff open and all kind of contracts. I'm like, okay, this means what? This means this, and then I walk into this person like the expert, right? Just complete posturing, and we had actually Deborah and Misha really helped us out. They let us use their story, and they were our partners in it. So if they needed a reference, we use them. We offer people the same thing: partner with us, use as a reference. You need to start somewhere and build your resume. That's really how we did it. They couldn't fire. They wanted to. The guy I reported to, all he cared about was production. He didn't care whether I showed up or not, so he was a great boss, But the one above him, which was the CEO of the company, was all about FaceTime. He never saw me. Where's Imran? I don't get it. But if you go to their company website back then, I was like 75% of everything that they were promoting on there was me. Right? I did that. So he's like, I want to fire this guy. I can't. So I was like, I got away with a lot. And I knew it wasn't going to last. I knew I was toying with fate there. So that's how that was. But yeah, so then we closed our first deal.
I think you ended up leaving, you finally fired your boss.
Eventually, yeah. So we did 6 months after we said we're going to put 20 under contract. We closed our first deal, made like 68 grand. You moved out of your in-laws. This job I was going to stay out for 1 more year. I ended up staying out for 2 more years, and I actually did. I had a lunch with the CEO and told him I was leaving and why, and he actually was very impressed and wants to become one of the investors in our company. But so that was 2000. Well, it was 2010 when I walked out of my job, right?
And we've been full-time ever since.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so that's our basic stories.
Where we came from.
People have been asking. I know. Sorry, that kind of took a little long time, but
from our first flip, making 68 grand to our most recent one, which is about to close escrow here.
Probably going to make somewhere 140, 150 grand on a single flip.
So